So it has been a rough week for Donald Trump, who is giving deranged rally after deranged rally, spewing utter nonsense on the campaign trail, and he's actually starting to get called out for it by conservative media. Now, he just did an interview with Fox News host Bret Baier, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But first, want to show you just in the last few days, where both Fox News and Newsmax have had to actually come in and correct him when he just goes completely off the rails, which is basically every time he opens his mouth. Now, this is something that we did not see in 2016 and we did not see in 2020. If you remember, everyone used to just carry all of Trump's speeches uninterrupted, allowing him to spew his nonsense without getting fact checked at all. And why? Because he's a rating star. That's what he knows. I mean, he's the Apprentice host. He meant big ratings for all of the big networks, not just Fox News, but even CNN and MSNBC were carrying his rallies and doing nothing to correct him. And it's not per se bad to cover Trump's rallies. In fact, responsible coverage of what the leading candidate for the Republican nomination for president of the United States is saying is actually a journalistic duty. He's not going away. But you can't just allow him to spew whatever he wants and not correct the record. And you can't go beyond that and do what Fox News did in 2020 and repeat his lies ad nauseum as fact. That's a lesson that Fox News learned the hard way after having to pay out nearly $800 million in a settlement with Dominion Voting Systems after their host parroted his lies nonstop, night after night, claiming he really won the election and that the voting systems were rigged. So we're finally starting to see some pushback from the conservative networks that support him, in large part just because these networks need to shield themselves from liability for defamation and slander, which is something that Trump clearly does not understand. That's why he continues to defame E. Jean Carroll, even after he's been ordered to pay out close to $100 million for his defamation of her. He will continue being hammered for defamation because he has no grasp of the law other than how to skirt it, of course. And that's why every lawyer he's ever had ends up quitting. He's a liability for them. Now, before I show you this clip of Bret Baier confronting Trump to his face, here's what Fox News did over the weekend, stepping in to correct not just his lies about the election, but his lies about the economy as well.
Continue monitoring the president's remarks, and I mean no offense to him or some of you might want to continue hearing, but I did have to say that even though the former president is entitled to his opinions, he's not entitled to his own set of facts. The market has indeed been going up, but having nothing to do with him and everything to do with this aggressive cut in interest rates, or just a hiking in interest rates that stabilized inflation, and of course the whole artificial intelligence phenomenon that has benefited NVIDIA and a host of companies that are making money hand over fist. So that, whether you want to give Biden credit for that, has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Furthermore, he mentioned about gas prices out of whack, $6 a gallon. The national average right now is $3.26 cents a gallon. He went on to talk about the 2020 election and how that was rigged. This has been adjudicated many, many times, dozens of times. It's been investigated by everyone and his uncle. No fewer than 44 investigations launched, some of them by judges that were picked by Donald Trump himself, that found no evidence of that in the 7 battleground states where most of them were focused. Donald Trump lost each and every one of those states, and no facts or no history that he mentions on the stump right now.
And here's what Newsmax had to say in order to protect themselves from liability regarding Trump's election lies during that same rally.
Never get tired of that guy. The president mentioned in his speech the 2020 elections. Newsmax as a network believes the results were legal and final. Greta's coming up next. Stick around.
Now, these networks, Fox and Newsmax, they may be crooked, they may be in the bag for Trump, and they may be bad for democracy. But at the very least, they are listening to their lawyers and refusing to allow Trump to get them into trouble for going along with his lies. Now, Bret Baier, who's definitely a conservative Republican and someone who's most likely going to vote for Trump, had the great chance to sit down with the former president this morning for an interview. And it basically went as expected on Trump's end. He lied through his teeth about everything, and continue to repeat the lie that he won the election. But Bret Baier was not having it and actually had to confront the president to his face.
What do you say to that female independent suburban voter who feels that way, to win her back?
First of all, I won in 2020 by a lot, okay? Let's get that straight. I won in 2020.
You know that
and if you look at all of the tapes, if you look at everything that you want to look at, you take a look at Truth to Vote, where they have people stuffing the ballot boxes on tapes, or
Mr. President,
let's go to recent. Well, wait a minute. Let's go to recent. FBI Twitter. Let's go to recent. The 51 agents, all corrupt stuff, Brett.
Understand about the Hunter Biden,
no, but
all
that's cheating
fair
on the
things.
election.
But
that's cheating on the election.
you lost the 2020 election.
Brett, you take a look at all of the stuffed ballots. You take a look at all of the things, including things like the 51 intelligence agents.
There were recounts in all of the swing states. There was not significant widespread
We're trying
fraud.
to get recounts, real
There were
recounts, not just
investigations,
numbers of votes
widespread
cast.
corruption. There was not a sense of that. There were lawsuits, more than 50 of them, by your lawyers, some in front of
Brett, are you
judges that you appointed.
Look at Wisconsin.
That came out with no evidence.
Brett, Wisconsin has practically admitted it was rigged. Other states are doing the same right now, and it's continuing on.
There have been
It was
reviews
a
of
rigged
every
election.
potential case of voter fraud in 6 battleground states, and they found fewer than 475 cases.
You know why? Because they didn't look at the right things.
Okay,
Brett.
are you going
they
to
were
be
counting? They were counting ballots, not the authenticity of the ballot. The ballots were fake ballots. You had this was a very rigged
Are you
election.
going to go? This is how you're going to tell that independent suburban woman voter
No,
to vote for
we're
you?
off to winning an election, and I think we're winning very well. I got a poll just recently. I have it here.
No, I know, and I watched the numbers.
You almost feel bad for Bret. I mean, he's sitting with this raving lunatic who belongs in a nursing home, but somehow ended up the presumptive nominee for president in his party. So instead of interviewing someone who actually makes some type of plausible case for being the leader of the free world, he's stuck with the town drunk who's clearly just mentally declining at a rate that's almost too rapid to cover. Now, in an election where the stakes literally could not be higher, I welcome this new fact-checking of the former president. Whether we like it or not, this election will come down to a few thousand votes in swing states like Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And if even the only thing that's different this time around is the fact that these conservative networks are now trying to legally protect themselves from liability, so they need to confront Trump when he spews his deranged lies and conspiracy theories, that could end up making a real difference. Because that means they're confronting him every time he opens his mouth. And we would at the very least hope that some of the viewers on Fox and Newsmax are sitting there like, this guy's insane. He just can't stop lying. But at the same time, if history is any indication, the MAGA crowd probably just looks at these Fox hosts and thinks, oh, they're just part of the deep state conspiracy to get Trump. After all, anyone who criticizes Trump or disagrees with anything he says is part of the deep state conspiracy. Now, here at Really American Media, we're always going to give you real and fair coverage of Trump and his lunatic enablers and represent them as what they are, aspiring autocrats. So do us a huge favor, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and help us build out the new media ecosystem this country desperately needs. Thanks.